Parents who refuse to vaccinate their children will miss out on childcare rebates and welfare payments up to $15,000 per child. Under a new measure announced by the Prime Minister this morning, Tony Abbott says there'll now only be a small number of religious and medical exemptions to the regime, which will begin on January 1 next year.
We are reducing the grounds on which people can object to having their children immunised in future. They will only be able to continue to receive childcare payments and the family tax benefit Part A supplement if their children are unimmunised on religious or medical grounds. Yes, people can, if they like, object to having their kids vaccinated, but if you don't have your children vaccinated other than on strictly religious or medical grounds, you won't qualify for the supplement and you won't qualify for the childcare payments. So this is essentially a no jab, no pay policy from this government. It's a very important public health announcement. It's a very important measure to keep our children and our families as safe as possible, and I want to thank the Minister, Scott Morrison, for the work he's done in this area.
Just adding there that he isn't approaching this as a savings measure. Indeed, the numbers involved seem to be reasonably small. There are some quoted figures of around $50 million a year, so it's not about pushing thousands off welfare payments and pocketing the difference, but he says it is an important health measure nevertheless. There have been recent stats annually released, but they came out just recently, showing that long, slow trend in decline. The objective level, apparently, in the medical profession is always well up over the 90s, 95, even better. So that's where they want to push it back towards. That said, historically, Australia is running at sort of herd protection levels, if that's the term, much higher than what it was achieving a few decades ago when we were down around the 50% mark, and it was government policy that helped push it up into the 90s. And also this is likely to sail through with bipartisan support. It was coalition policy at the last election, but Bill Shorten, the opposition leader, he wrote to the Prime Minister as recently as Friday, pledging his support for these sorts of initiatives. So you could probably expect that it will go through when it comes forward as legislation or whatever's required. It'll go through quite smoothly.
The Parenthood Advocacy Group has welcomed the Prime Minister's announcement. Executive Director Joe Brisky admits it's a difficult issue, but says it's important to improve immunisation rates in the community. She joins me now live from our Brisbane newsroom. Joe, thanks so much for speaking to us.
No worries.
First up, what is the immunisation rate like in Australia at the moment?
Look, unfortunately, it's not up to the rate it needs to be in order for us to see a protection for our kids in terms of the number of kids who are fully vaccinated. And that's why it's so important that we see measures taken that help boost our immunisation rates.
And so as a result, the government has announced this change this morning that will tighten those allowances, I guess. Do you think that this will work?
Oh, I expect it to, and I really hope it does. It's really important that it does. We need to ensure that we're protecting our kids and not, risking the chance that they are subjected to potentially deadly illnesses.
There is a clear group of people who are opposed to immunisation, and obviously the government is trying to target those people. But is this simply further marginalising them and making them stand out even more?
Look, I think what it's saying to the community is making it clear that it's extremely important and necessary that we vaccinate our children. That's the message I believe that this announcement is sending to our community today.
The government has responded in this way, and this comes, I guess, in the wake of a death in recent weeks in Western Australia, a young boy dying from whooping cough. He couldn't be vaccinated because of his age. So is that why it's important to have this large majority of people within the community who are vaccinated?
Yes, that's exactly right. That's why it's so important. There are children in our community who are either too young or cannot be vaccinated due to medical reasons, and they are depending on us. They are depending on the rest of us to help protect them, and we should not be seeing children lose their lives to completely preventable diseases.
This is an issue that's been in the media a lot in the last 6 months, a year or so. Is that because the vaccination rate has dropped in that time, or in the last decade or so? Is that what's caused all this?
Well, what's incredibly concerning is that the rate of parents choosing not to vaccinate their kids simply because they don't believe in it or don't accept the science behind it, that's been on the increase, a steady increase for some years. And unfortunately, that now means that we've got pockets of Australia where the rate of kids immunised, the percentage of kids that are immunised, are below what is considered safe or necessary in order for that herd immunity, for that community protection. And so this announcement has come when we needed it, and really happy to see, and parents will be relieved that the government is taking this strong action today.
Does Australia mirror, I guess, similar situations in other countries throughout the world? Do they also have a growing, I guess, a group of people who are opposed to vaccinations?
We are seeing the increase, seemingly the increase across the world. You would have seen the rates of whooping cough established in the US, and we've actually got rates of our levels of immunisation for whooping cough are below that of other countries, third world countries across the world. So it's really concerning that is the state of play here in Australia, and that is why it is so important that we take immediate action and strong action like the government has done today to help boost immunisation rates for the health and safety of our kids.
Okay, thanks so much, Jo Brisky, for speaking to us.
No worries at all, thank you.